So, good morning. I'm Senator Carol Liu and Chair of the Select Committee on Aging and Long-Term Care. And standing before you today are some of the members that are carrying some of the bills that were recommended in the report. This is the report. There's a copy outside on the table if you haven't received one. And we are also joined by organizations who are supporting our package of legislation. So with me right now is Senator Hancock, Senator Wolk, Assemblymember Brown, and Assemblymember Calderon, and we have a couple of more people who are joining us who are carrying the legislation that were part of the recommendations. And the organizations that you see, also the California Alzheimer's Association, California Association on Aging Agencies on California Association of Area Agencies on Aging, California Collaborative Long-Term Services and Supports, California Commission on Aging, Congress of California Seniors, Justice in Aging, Leading Age California, SEIU, the United Long-Term Care Workers, and the state's Independent Living Council are in support of the recommendations that this report has pointed out. So the issue is, on this chart here on my right-hand side, displays the current figures of projected growth in the aging population in the next 15 years. And as you can see, people 65 years and over will constitute about 20% of California's population by 2030. This chart also illustrates that as time goes on, women are far more disproportionately represented by our failed system. If we don't get our act together now, we will have critical issues facing us in the near future. Now, many of you are aware, again, we just talked about the shattered system. And after a year-long effort of hearings and research and interviews with experts, listening sessions with consumers, and a statewide tour, the Select Committee concluded that we have no integrated system of services and supports for aging adults and adults with disabilities. This periodic chart over here, does that look wonderful? It's all colorful. It illustrates that we have 112 programs in this state distributed across 20 different agencies and departments. There is a copy of the chart in your packet if you picked up a packet outside. And likewise, the jurisdiction and long-term care is distributed among multiple standing committees in the legislature. There are deficiencies in service and supports are amplified in the state's 44 rural counties. And demand for workers, a whole range of folks, from in-home healthcare workers to geriatricians, far outstrips supply. So furthermore, we are ill-equipped to serve this increasingly culturally diverse population. And as a result, the state's disarray of services and support is inequitable. We need an integrated, consumer-centered aging and long-term care system in California. And you have in your packets a list of the report's 30 recommendations that will bring us closer to a more ideal system. So the authors standing here and the others that will appear are collaborating in this effort to further avoid fragmentation, and we need to help each other create a system that consumers and caregivers can navigate. The cost of caring for the elderly and people with disabilities in institutions far exceeds the cost of in-home and community care. In the home and in the community is where the elderly and disabled want to be. With the right mix of services and supports, they can remain independent and socially and intellectually engaged. So, one final and important message I'm delivering today is this: aging adults and people with disabilities believe that we don't care about them. And certainly the condition of our current non-system and the last several years of budget constraints into our social safety network implies that this is the case. So ageism and negative stereotypes abound in our society. So there's no doubt that we can do more to reorganize and reform our system. We need to change the narrative about what aging is or being disabled means. We need a narrative of appreciation and respect. We also need a continuum of care that helps people live life to the fullest potential and to not use eligibility by age It's a de facto elimination of determination of capabilities and needs and access to services and support. We, all of us, want and need choices. And I know I haven't given you a catchy 30-second soundbite that makes good headlines, but the complexity of what we are trying to accomplish is hard to capture in pithy phrases. So I'm asking you to dig deep into the issues and help us change the process and the narrative about aging and long-term care. We all know change is hard. It won't happen overnight. We are willing to do the incremental work it takes to realize a big vision. And if we stay the course, we can change the lives of millions of Californians for the better. And that includes all of us. So now I'm pleased to introduce Assemblymember Cheryl Brown, Chair of the Assembly Aging and Long-Term Care Committee, to speak about her bills and upcoming activities for the committee. And I know also Senator Hancock needs to get to a committee at 10:30. So.
You wanna go first? Oops, okay. Thank you, Senator Liu. You know, every day, 10,000 people in this country are turning 65 years old. Every day for the next 17 years, they'll be turning 65. So folks, we're in for a silver tsunami. May I take a moment to acknowledge the amazing work that you've done on this important issue in our community. I say thank you because it's what we've needed. This report represents far more than data. It represents perspective. It offers us a toolkit, an action plan, and a strategy to finally deliver to 38 million people of this state a system of long-term care services. These services and supports will support the dignified lives for older Californians, protect families from the devastating financial and emotional toll of long-term care, and assure that caregivers and their needs are equally recognized, and without them, our entire system, indeed our entire economy, could face disastrous consequences. We would not be here today without the contributions of our older population, without what they did when they were younger. We're standing on their shoulders, and we all are here because of the sacrifices that they made. I know Senator Liu shares, and the other senators and assembly members share the love of our state. In many communities, we found that they've come from Africa, from South and Central America, from Mexico, Europe, and Asia, and the Pacific Islands. And we all live together in this enormous stew pot, each of us deserving the same level of dignity and respect of the other. Each of us bring a cultural contribution that all combined together has the power to confront our problems and then transform them into realities and opportunities. During this past year, under the leadership of former chairperson, Assemblymember Mariko Yamada, my committee had a chance to explore the diversity of the people who call California home. This is the report that came out of those hearings. Primarily, we discovered that tremendous innovation and creative solutions are being deployed today. And right now, it's being deployed to accommodate expanding and diversifying aging population. We discovered talented and thoughtful stewards of valuable resources, but we also found barriers that weren't thrown up to block the older person or the caregiver from accessing services, but barriers that have evolved because we today, in 2015, are trying to meet the needs of an aging population of a modern age society with a system of care that was designed probably in the 1800s, but my notes say 1970s to 1980s. Today, we are incapable of preventing a well-resourced middle-class family from impoverishment simply because the matriarch has been diagnosed with Alzheimer's or some other disease. Today, we are incapable of protecting a vast number of frail elders from suffering within the walls of a nursing home of abuse and neglect. Today, we're unable to lift the very poorest of our elders to a level of dignity that assures safe housing, adequate food, or a life that is more than struggle, stress, and anxiety. Today, we are incapable of providing thoughtful, middle-aged younger people with the financial instruments they need to prepare and plan for costs of retirement and long-term care. You know, there's nobody really to blame for this except that in our recent fiscal cloud, we dismantled one of the most important, effective systems ever designed, the adult day health care system. We forced tens of thousands of elders into a system of managed care that was never, ever intended for high-need consumers. We failed to maximize the talented contributions of citizens who were a part of the Olmsted Advisory Council and the Alzheimer's Disease Advisory Council. We failed to take at heart the experiences and decisions of other nations who've already confronted the rapidly expanding age population. And in the spirit of hope and progress, I want to declare that now those days are over. We only have a future of prosperity and hope before us, and we intend to use this opportunity to change the trajectory and place California back on the track of responsible and realistic planning and preparation. So we are calling 3 important hearings. The first is to address senior poverty in California, and we're going to identify the strategies necessary to lift the tide. That's on March 17th. The second is under the leadership of Mr. Banta, the Assemblyman for the Health Committees. We're going to have another hearing that will deal with the abuse and mistreatment. The third is a hearing on financing long-term care. Well, we need to start a conversation about financial instruments that people need to plan for long-term care. And finally, I'm bringing to the Assembly for a second time a measure to establish the Council of California's best and brightest minds in the field of caregiving, so we can focus and determine priorities and strategies that California caregivers need. Caregivers who struggle every day. They're invisible many times. And many times they place their lives on hold to help others. So AJR 38 will become a reality. Thank you all for joining us here today. I hope we meet again soon to restore the luster of our awesome Golden State. Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Senator Hancock.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. I have to go chair another hearing that starts right now. I just wanted to thank Senator Liu for the incredible leadership of pulling this effort together and say, for all of us, we are a team here. And we are part of, I think, a movement that's been going on for a while, a realization that we have to systematize and coordinate the efforts that we make so that the sum is equal to more than the sum of the parts, not less than the sum of the parts. And every single ounce of human energy and talent and idealism and goodwill needs to come into play to make these important systems changes that the report calls for. My bill is a tiny little piece of that. It takes current law and makes clear how adult protective orders can be issued, and that our agency staff can do that when they see a need. I'm here for the long haul, though, for every single piece of it. And I think we all are. And working together, I believe the time is right. The report says what needs to be done. We need to work together and get it done. Thank you so much, Senator Liu.
Senator Waltz.
Thank you, Senator Liu, for your leadership, and Assemblywoman Brown for your efforts as well. I'm very pleased to, in the dozen or so bills that are being proposed as part of this package, I want to speak about end-of-life planning and options, which involve two bills in the package. The first is SB 19, which has to do with something called the POST form, the Physician's Orders for Life-Sustaining Treatment. That is, for those of you that don't know, it's this pink form. That represents a conversation that happens between a physician and someone at the end of life, within the last year of life, which is then signed by the doctor and should follow the person around. The bill is to establish a registry of POST forms, so it would be available to the whole range of emergency providers, physicians, who need to have access at the end of life. The second bill is one that has gotten a tremendous amount of publicity already. I won't spend much time on that here. SB 128, which is the End of Life Option Act. This has to do to bring relief to a significant group of Californians who face the last 6 months of terminal illness and are in the final stages of that disease, and to allow them not to prolong their suffering beyond not to prolong what is terrible suffering at the end of life. The time is right for this legislation, and it is already endorsed by the senior legislature and the Congress of California Seniors and many throughout the state of California. These are decisions that are extremely important at the end of life, not only for the elderly, by the way, but certainly that's an important part of the constituency. So thanks for what you're doing, and the other members who are participating.
Thank you very much. Senator Allen.
Thank you. Well, good morning, everybody, and thank you so much for being here. I know we have a lot of folks who've come from all over the state, and I appreciate your presence. I think it says a lot about your commitment to our broader community, and to all those folks who we're trying to help today with the series of legislation that we're announcing today. I obviously want to say thank you to Carol Liu, who's taken such an important leadership role here in coordinating a broader package of reforms that are going to help us as a state move forward in terms of aging and long-term care. Big thanks as well to Assemblymember Brown, members of the Select Committee, colleagues. I see my great colleague Ian Calderon here as well. So like many of you, the path for me starts with a family member. My grandfather, who was an extraordinary man, a very able and vivacious, very funny pediatrician who had spent his entire career healing children and making them laugh, was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And he then entered into this long descent into dementia, and it was a very painful experience for everyone, not just because of what the amount to which we saw him suffer, but also knowing the man that he was and the man that he became on his eventual deathbed. And my strongest memories of him were there in his deathbed, deeply suffering from the pangs of Alzheimer's. And remembering, talking to my older brother, talking to my mother, and talking to everyone who knew him, it was such a shame that was my primary experience with him. And I've been concerned about Alzheimer's issues for a long time as a result. And that's why when the Alzheimer's Association and Senator Liu came to me to ask me to carry legislation relating to Alzheimer's research, I was very anxious to get involved, and have come forward with SB 613, which establishes a working group to develop guidelines for dementia and Alzheimer's patient care management. And this is a need that's been identified by some folks in the advocacy community and also in the medical community that we're going to address with this bill. I also love the fact that the number that I got, it was absolutely random, and there are not many people here who might know the significance of 613, but 613 for Jewish tradition is the number of mitzvot, commandments, good deeds that are in the Bible. And so there's a certain spirituality that comes behind this bill as well. So I'm so proud to be a part of this effort to do right by our seniors, to do right by those who are aging, and all the future generations who will soon be aging and who are already aging. I also just want to pick one little comment also as well about SSI and the fact that we're only funding SSI at what we were funding it at in 2007, 8 years ago, in spite of all the inflation, in spite of all the increased costs. And I'm hoping that with some of the new money coming through the budget, that we'll be able to restore some of that important critical funding that really does help so many vulnerable people in our state. So I'm proud to be here, and I'm just so grateful to Assembly Members Brown and Senator Liu. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Great.
Thank you, Senator Liu, and my colleagues that are here that feel as passionately as I do about the cost of long-term care, and I'm proud to be here, what I feel is as a representative from the next generation, to say that we too care what happens. I am Assemblymember Ian Calderon, and I represent the 57th Assembly District in East LA County, and providing long-term care insurance is not unique to my district. This is an ongoing problem that faces everyone here in the state of California. Unfortunately, California does not have a viable option for middle-class seniors and persons with disabilities to obtain affordable long-term care. Currently, there are two options for elderly to receive the care and personal assistance that they need to remain in their home. First, a person must meet the federal requirements, proving they earn wages 138% below poverty in order to qualify for Medi-Cal and/or Medicaid. By qualifying for Medi-Cal, seniors and persons with disabilities may qualify for many programs administered by the state, including in-home supportive services. Secondly, a person must earn and/or save enough disposable income to hire a private home care aide, at times paying an average of $30 per hour to receive long-term care services. Without alternatives for people to obtain long-term care, the aging middle class must decide whether to spend down their assets in order to qualify for Medi-Cal and safety net services, or to exhaust their personal assets paying for private care services. This is why I am authoring AB 332, which would create the Long-Term Care Insurance Task Force to provide recommendations to the Insurance Commissioner of California to come up with sustainable options for long-term care insurance. We cannot wait to act on this. California senior population age 60 and older is projected to grow to over 12 million residents by 2030. If we fail to act and not provide citizens of the state with a reasonable alternative for affordable long-term care insurance, then we fail our mothers, our fathers, our grandfathers who desperately are looking for an option that they can afford. Supporting middle-class families is just the right thing to do, and I'm proud to be a part of this group standing before you advocating for just that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, well, thank you very much. A couple of our members did not make it today, but I thank all my colleagues and all the organizations. Thank you for joining me today in this effort. And now we're happy to take any questions if there are questions. Good. We are a team working together to ensure that the state of California delivers a system that everybody can access, and a message that we all care about all of us aging otherwise and being culturally sensitive to our population in California. So thank you very much for joining us today. And we'll see you soon at some of the hearings. Thank you.